Hello, you weirdos. Jim here. And if you read this week's Green Arrow number 9, by the end of the issue, you got something that I don't think anybody had on their bingo card this week. You get Oliver Queen, Green Arrow, getting captured by Amanda Waller, and she makes a deal with him. She says, I'll tell you where Merlin is if you steal some secrets from the Sanctuary for me. And yes, that Sanctuary, the one from Tom King's Heroes in Crisis story from way back in 2018. A story most people hated, most people still hate. So why would DC go back to that well? Now, that's what we'll discuss a bit here in this video. But at the end, I kind of ended up coming up with maybe a theory. And you let me know if it's something that, if it's true, that it could end up being a pretty cool story. That while I and everybody else seems to hate Heroes in Crisis, maybe there's a little twisting and turning going on by Amanda Waller to make it something that makes sense in what we've had recently and leading to the Absolute Power event this summer. But let's get into it right about now.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
I know what everybody's thinking. Oh, listen to that positive Jimmy trying to put a positive spin on that Heroes in Crisis. I'll tell you, I hated Heroes in Crisis so much. I hated it on so many levels. And in fact, I end up talking with Tom King fans a lot. It's pretty much one of the few stories that they will not support. They will say it was awful. Though, on the side, they try to throw most of the blame to Dan Didio, not Tom King himself, which kind of does irritate me. But the whole play of this is not many people ended up liking Heroes in Crisis, including me. I actually thought at the time, and still do, that it was the final nail in the Rebirth coffin. You end up getting the face of Rebirth, Wally West, and make him into a mass murderer. I mean, if that doesn't end Rebirth, nothing will. And it seemed at that point, this was where a lot of people started becoming disillusioned with DC. But really, Wally West fans, they threw a fit. And I mean, rightly so. They were upset. And I do think that part of the reason that Jeremy Adams' Flash run years later ended up failing, or at least stopping prematurely, is that a lot of the Wally West fans were done. I remember when I realized, man, this Jeremy Adams, he has it. I started talking and even online saying, hey, I see you're a Wally West fan. Are you reading the new Jeremy Adams run? And a lot of them said, listen, I'm done. I've been burnt so much. And they thought that they would get duped again. They were going to get drawn in, and then the rug would be pulled out. And oh my God, look, they're laughing at us. They screwed up Wally again. It took a while. Eventually, a lot of those, Wally West fans did jump on. It was too late then. It was too late that DC had already decided it wasn't working. Well, it was more of their fault, not Jeremy Adams. And it really, really, still to this day, does upset me a bit. So when you go back to this Heroes in Crisis in this whole Green Arrow issue, you get to that end, a lot of people, including myself, had to have grown at the end. Oh my God, what are we doing? And I did see a lot of people jumping online to comment on it, even making videos. And it was gut reaction stuff. And I had a gut reaction too. I went to make a video about a day ago. And then I started thinking, as I was actually, recording, I kind of came up with this idea, wait a second, maybe this is something different. It's still going to be Heroes in Crisis. It's still the Sanctuary. It's still going to be, people are going to be mad. But maybe the story here could be a little bit deeper. But why would they bring it back overall? I mean, you could sit there and say that they think any press is good press. They throw a little Heroes in Crisis. It's one of the most hated stories, at least of the last decade. It's up there probably in a lot of people's top 5 of all time. So you throw it out there and it's going to get some press. People are going to make videos like this one, and they might go with, again, any press is good press. I don't know about that at this moment. I mean, at this moment, it kind of isn't any press is good press, but it'll get some hype going. And then some people thought, okay, and I saw some videos. This is just Amanda Waller. It's a way to get the, files from Sanctuary. What she says to Oliver is, secrets can't fully be taken care of. They can't be deleted. So I want you to go there. She never says, I want you to get these type of files. I want you to get this. But most people, the gut reaction is she's going to go and get the confessional stuff, and she's going to get some files where she's going to know all of the secret identities of the characters. The weird play of that, though, doesn't work for me. After I started thinking about it, and especially reading the issue, if you take notice, she actually even says, she doesn't get Oliver Queen and say, oh, Green Arrow, Green Arrow. She addresses him right away as Mr. Queen. She knows who he is. She has been in the Batcave multiple times in this continuity. She knows where it is. She knows whose house is above it. She knows probably all of the heroes' secret identities already. And now that she's in this Bureau of Sovereignty, I think there is more of a chance that she definitely knows them already. So why would she go? And even beyond that, this issue of Green Arrow, while it also has her say Mr. Queen, so that's like a wink wink that she knows some identities. Also, it's really pushed that she has this like super hacking team. These guys are legitimately at this point hacking into the Hall of Justice, which is now the Hall of Order. And you could even think if there might be some files there, they can find like secret identity stuff to me in what is going on with Waller overall. That seems like small potatoes right now, because what Waller is trying to do is get the world afraid against the heroes, make the heroes, what she already sees them as, jerks who end up going too far, ends up causing all sorts of problems, causes more problems than it solves them. And I think that where she might be going here, and why she would pick Oliver, like why would you pick Oliver Queen to go and steal files, things that do seem still as like a hacking thing? Now, if they're hard, wire their paper, so you have a lot of other people you can send besides Oliver Queen. So why would you send Oliver Queen, and what could this be? And I think that where I'm going to tell you this, and you could discuss with me if this might be a cool play. You might hate it, but I think you're supposed to hate it. And that's where I really like this play of, if we go back to Heroes in Crisis, make it a meta thing that shows how awful Heroes in Crisis was, and deal with that in the story. Because I think that you're going to have Oliver Queen go back to find the security footage that shows Wally West killing Roy Harper and all the rest of the characters that he did end up killing in the whole Heroes in Crisis. Now, remember, that was retconned twice, actually, to show that Wally wasn't really at fault. He actually is, he was an innocent party. He was being manipulated, all these things going on. But wasn't, Beast Boy pretty innocent in that whole Beast world, right? He ends up doing his thing. He ends up getting manipulated by Amanda Waller. And now she's going on TV saying, hey, everybody, look at this Beast Boy. This is what he became. He's bad. He's at fault. He's the killer. Let's hate him. And everybody does, because she is a spin doctor, spin master. So wouldn't she spin the idea? If you just have the raw footage of Wally West killing these people, including Roy Harper, it's just going to look like he's a murderer. And really, overall picture, it's going to look like, look what these heroes do. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman set up a mental health institution. I don't think it's accredited. I think they're doing this on the sly, so I think she could push that as well. And look what happened. It was done so poorly that the Flash was on the Titans with Beast Boy. He really freaked out and ended up killing everybody. Oh my God, he did that. And guess what else happened? The heroes swept it under the rug. The heroes then allowed this killer, this Flash, to just go right back to being a hero. Now, we know as readers, that's not quite what happened. But if you look at it as a person just in the DCU, just a regular walkabout Joe or Jane, it's going to look like that. It's going to look like, oh my God, this Flash, who I see with Beast Boy all the time, he's a killer. And he ended up, and really also, if you go with it, he's a killer, but maybe he's not totally to blame because he has mental health issues, but the people who are supposed to help him are even more to blame. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, who set up this sanctuary. And I think that's what's going on, because then let's go a little deeper here. Let's go a deep dive. The one person who could probably come out and say, oh, no, that's misleading. That's not, and look at me, I'm alive. Roy Harper right now is working for Amanda Waller and working in a way of like a Suicide Squad. It's not just like he's like, hey, I'll work with you. He's being forced to work for her. He's not going to be able to come out and say any of this is bullcrap. She could just put him in a cell while this is going on to kind of percolate. So you have that. Now throw in again, why is she sending Oliver Queen? Now, Oliver, at this point, you would think he knows that Wally isn't necessarily at fault. But if he goes and gets that footage and he watches Wally freaking out because of the sanctuary, even if it was somebody else manipulating, he might start thinking, you know what? Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they weren't right making the sanctuary. I trusted them to send Roy there. And even if you go the full out where it was Wally being manipulated, well, shouldn't that have been protected even? Roy gets sent and goes to the sanctuary, ends up dying because Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman failed. So while he's not going to necessarily say, oh my God, Wally's a killer, whatever, he might start to think a little. And remember Amanda Waller's whole MO, that the heroes are the cause of problems, that they end up trying to do wacky stuff that always backfires, people get hurt. He might start agreeing a bit on that level with Amanda Waller. He may even join up with Amanda Waller in the point of, you know what, you're right. Us heroes, we start doing what we should stop doing this. Maybe we should step down from all this stuff or whatnot. I think that could be a real interesting story. Again, the idea of she's just going to get, secret identity stuff, that's not that great. That's not that big. I mean, you could say it's big, but also just imagine that they do, and she does release all these secret identities. At the end of all this, we're going to have to put that back in the bottle. We can't go forward with that very long. So you'd have to figure that out. If you end up having her get that footage of Wally being the killer and manipulate it because it does look really bad, people wouldn't know that it's not as bad, but it looks really, really bad to the point where I think it would be a really good bookend, because one of the things that I yelled about a lot at the end of Heroes in Crisis was that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, they kind of didn't have any ramifications. They really messed up. They completely messed up. The idea of what they thought was therapy did not work. It did end up upsetting Wally, this isolation. And even in that, you also had, immersion therapy where you had Lagoon Boy, because he had been shot. He's just going to continuously get shot until he gets desensitized to it. That's not great therapy. That's not really great therapy. But if you go with a Batman who actually uses the idea of his parents dying in the alley, he uses that for the fight, he remembers it, that's fine for him. That's not great therapy. And to kind of put it in perspective really quickly, that's the idea of saying something that you really get upset about, we'll just throw that at you constantly. The problem is that a lot of people dealing with problems like that, like say you got attacked, reliving that attack is not going to be great because most people are already reliving that attack constantly. You need better therapy. And that's just one of the things. The idea that there was isolation, the idea that it was these robots, everything went wrong. And I said that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman should be arrested. They should be held accountable for the nonsense that was the Heroes in Crisis. Now, in the meta deal, they kind of, DC pushed it away. We don't want to deal with that anymore. Oh my God, that was so terrible. But in real life deal, they set up an awful, awful idea of therapy and did get people killed because of that. So again, why they're going back to the Heroes in Crisis, we can only guess at this moment. But if it is to lead to, oh my God, the world now thinks that Wally is the killer next to Beast Boy, who was already looked at as a pretty much a genocidal maniac, this continues the steps down the line of what Amanda Waller has been doing and trying to get the people against the heroes themselves. And I think it'd be pretty cool, even though every time I'll be like, boy, I hated that Heroes in Crisis. But I think that that's a cool little twist. We'll see if it happens. Let me know. And maybe people have their own theories about what it could be. And if there's anything, even listening to what I hope and think it might be, maybe that's still not good enough for you. Maybe this is the idea. And I think there's going to be people out there that they just want to forget about that Heroes in Crisis. It was so bad. But we'll see how it is. We'll see how it goes. But let me know in the comments. Thanks a lot, everybody. and I'll talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.